Exercise your mind while you sleep to be stronger. The world slows down when night falls. The streets grow quieter, the noises diminish, and even the most agitated hearts seem to lose a little of their rhythm. For many, this is simply the time to turn off the lights and lie down. But for those seeking true strength, for those who understand that life is an inner battlefield, night is not just an end. It is a secret laboratory, an invisible forge where the soul is crafted. While the body rests, the mind doesn't sleep. It remains active, reviewing events, reorganizing memories, fabricating dreams, and cultivating the seeds you planted during the day. This is why many wake up exhausted even after hours of sleep, because they took to bed heavy thoughts. Unresolved hurts, fears, and anxieties that worked silently all night. Sleep isn't a respite, it's fertile ground. The question is, what are you cultivating in this soil? Imagine the mind as an iron forge. During the day, you pour into it everything you experience, words spoken, offenses received, choices made, emotions felt. At night, the forge closes, and the fire works alone. If the material infused is impure, the result is fragile, brittle. But if the material is pure, gratitude, courage, discipline, acceptance, what emerges from the forge is a more resilient soul, a spirit better prepared to face the weight of life. Each night is an opportunity for rebirth. Every time you close your eyes, you surrender to a mysterious process that can destroy or rebuild you. How many times have you woken up feeling heavier than when you went to sleep? This isn't physical exhaustion. It's mental intoxication. Your soul has been working with poison. You've harbored resentment, thought about debts, and brooded over mistakes, and sleep only multiplied that within you. But there are also mornings when you wake up light, confident, almost as if reborn. This happens when you've prepared your mind before resting. When, instead of giving your unconscious poison, you've given it virtue. When you've accepted that you don't control everything, when you've let go of what you couldn't resolve in the dark. When you've expressed gratitude even when you have no reason to be grateful. On these nights, the forge works in your favor, and you awaken stronger than before. The Stoics already knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself every night, recording victories and failures, reflecting on his actions. Seneca said that no one should go to bed without first examining their own heart. This was not an exercise in vanity, but in discipline. They understood that the mind needs order to rest, and that the silence of the night can turn into chaos if not fueled by reason. What few understand is that sleep is also a mirror of life. Just as at night, throughout life you are constantly forging yourself. If you live harboring hurt, envy, and resentment, the result is a corroded soul. If you live cultivating virtues, patience, and courage, the result is a solid soul. The difference is that, at night, this process happens without your conscious intervention. You simply reap what you sow, therefore, don't underestimate the power of what you think before you fall asleep. This is the blacksmith's final blow to the red-hot iron. The last thought you deliver to your mind is the tool that defines the shape of your soul at dawn. If it's a thought of hatred, the soul awakens deformed. If it's a thought of virtue, the soul awakens sharp. Training your mind to be stronger while you sleep isn't mysticism. It's discipline. It's accepting that each night is a new chance to rebuild, to remake, to start over. If the day was hard, if struggles hurt you, if people disappointed you, sleep can be a time for healing, but only if you choose to let go of the weight before bed. Otherwise, you're just taking the battle inward, and the enemy sleeps beside you. So, when night falls, don't view silence as emptiness. See it as the forge of the soul. Don't see sleep as a pause, but as training. Ask yourself, what am I giving my mind to work on during the next few hours? If the answer is virtue, courage, and gratitude, you won't just rest. You'll rise stronger than you were yesterday, because a true warrior doesn't just rest his body. He trains even in the silence of the night. The last thought shapes the first awakening. Close your eyes and remember your last thought before you went to sleep last night. Was it anger? Fear? Worry? Or was it gratitude, calm, acceptance? The answer is important, because what you deliver to your mind in the last moment before sleep is what builds the atmosphere of your entire night. a mind filled with anger spends hours in prison. It doesn't rest, it writhes in resentment. A mind filled with envy spends hours comparing itself to ghosts that aren't even there. A mind trapped in regret sinks into old scenes, repeating mistakes that can no longer be corrected. These people wake up exhausted not because they didn't sleep, but because they spent the night drowning in the poisons they themselves put on their pillow. The last thought is like the key that locks the door to the unconscious. You decide what stays inside. If you place fear, it will be fear that grows during the night. If you place courage, it will be courage that blossoms. And when the sun rises, you awaken shaped by what you chose the night before. Many believe that waking up in a bad mood, lacking energy, and feeling heavy is just a biological coincidence. It's not. It's a direct consequence of what your mind worked on while you slept. If you lie down rehashing arguments, dwelling on injustices, or with your mind immersed in worries, you're training your subconscious to turn rest into torture. The ancient sages already knew this. Epictetus said, "It is not the things that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them." If you go to bed with the belief that the world is cruel, unfair, and that you are doomed to failure, your night will be an extension of that belief. You will dream about the weight you carry. But if you carry the belief that, despite the pain, you are capable of facing tomorrow, then sleep becomes your ally. Think with me, if your last thought before bed were a seed, which one are you planting? Each morning is the harvest. Those who sow resentment wake up in war. Those who sow fear wake up in panic. Those who sow gratitude wake up in peace. This is the main point. The disciplined mind consciously chooses what to take for the night. She doesn't lie down enslaved by events. She reviews them, accepts them, learns from them, and releases them. Because she understands that there's no point in carrying into sleep what cannot be changed in the dark. What needs to be resolved will be resolved the next day, with a clear mind and a rested body. And here's a hard truth: if you don't master your last thought, it will master you. It's like entering a battle without choosing your weapon. You go into battle unarmed and wake up defeated, so, practice a mindfulness ritual before closing your eyes. Ask yourself, what has this day taught me? What do I need to let go of now? What strength do I want to cultivate tomorrow? And consciously choose a thought that serves as your anchor. It could be the memory of something good, a word of encouragement, or simply the acceptance that you did the best you could today. This final thought, small and silent, will be the master of your awakening. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a peaceful mind, a serene heart, ready to face challenges with determination. This doesn't happen by chance. It's the result of the choices you make today. When you go to bed, the last thought shapes the first awakening, because sleep is the bridge between what you were today and what you will be tomorrow. You are the one who builds this bridge. If you build it with resentment, you will cross into a new day carrying stones. If you build it with courage and gratitude, you will cross lightly, ready to conquer. So don't underestimate the power of a single thought before bed. It may seem small, but it's the seed of your tomorrow. And remember, you don't control the world, but you do control the key to your mind. Use it wisely, and the silence of the night will turn into strength at dawn. The prison of poison dreams. Dreams aren't just random images that emerge in the silence of the night. They are reflections, distortions, echoes of what you carry in your soul during the day. The mind, while the body rests, works like a mirror. And this mirror sometimes reveals truths you try to hide while awake. Those who live in anger dream of persecution, wars, and fights. Those who live in envy dream of their own defeats or others' victories. Those who live in fear dream of falls, escapes, and threats. These dreams are poison prisons. Even when you wake up, you still feel their bitter taste in your chest. As if the night had been a prison. But here's the hard truth: dreams don't create anything from scratch. They only multiply what you yourself planted. If you spend the day harboring resentment, that's what the night will bring back. If you spend the day stuck in comparisons, that's what your subconscious will repeat. The dream is just a reflection of what you've given your mind to work with, and that's why so many people wake up tired. Because they haven't truly rested. They spent the entire night trapped in poisoned environments, fighting ghosts they themselves fed. It's not the body that's tired. It's the soul. The Stoic knew this. For him, dreams were not just a curiosity, but a reminder: what torments me at night is what I have not yet released during the day. Bad dreams were not seen as punishment, but as a sign that poison still remained trapped within the heart. And the antidote was the daily practice of virtue, gratitude, acceptance, courage, because those who live with discipline dream clearly. Those who live with serenity dream lightly. And even if their dreams are confusing, they wake up feeling weightless, because their mind has been trained to let go, not to cling to poison. Think with me, what is a dream if not proof that you never escape yourself? You can deceive the waking world, pretend to be strong, smile to hide your pain. But at night, alone, your mind reveals the truth. If you carry darkness, it overflows into your dreams. If you carry light, it also appears. That's why we need to watch not just our actions, but our thoughts as well. Because today's thoughts become tomorrow's dreams. And dreams shape your mood, your disposition, and even the strength you'll have when you wake up. Sleep can be a prison or a liberation. Prison, when you bring into it the unresolved poison. Liberation, when you consciously choose to release the burdens and surrender to the mind only that which strengthens it. So, before you go to sleep, ask yourself, am I giving my mind poison or virtue? This answer will define not only the quality of your dreams, but the strength with which you wake up to face the day, because in the end, poison dreams aren't enemies. They're messengers. They scream at you, see what still needs to be cleaned within you. And if you listen, you can turn prison into freedom, the invisible training of inner strength. No one sees. No one applauds. No one celebrates. But while you sleep, there's a workout happening inside you. It's not done with weights, it doesn't require sweat, it doesn't need an audience. It's the invisible training of your mind. While the body rests, the brain reorganizes, rebuilds, and reinforces. It takes the day's experiences and decides what to keep, what to release, and what to transform into learning. This process is silent, but it is one of the most powerful. It is where inner strength is born. But let me tell you an uncomfortable truth: this training isn't neutral. It doesn't work in your favor by accident. It only strengthens what you choose to give it as material. If you feed your mind resentment, comparisons, and self-sabotage, that's what it trains. And the more it trains, the stronger it becomes. The mind doesn't choose what's good or bad. It just repeats and reinforces. That's why so many people wake up feeling weak. It's not a lack of physical energy. It's a weakness of the soul. They spent the entire night training in resentment, envy, and fear. When they open their eyes, they carry this weight as if it were part of their body. But it's not the body, it's the poorly trained mind. Now think about it: if every night is a workout, you can decide what to train. You can choose to enter sleep with courage, gratitude, and discipline. You can transform the night into an invisible gym, where your mind practices detachment, acceptance, and serenity. And with each awakening, you'll be a little stronger, even without realizing it. This is the secret of those who stand firm in the face of storms. They become strong not just by what they do during the day, but by what they allow to happen in their minds at night. Invisible training builds muscle for the soul. Epictetus said, "Suffering is a choice, not a sentence." During sleep, this phrase takes on more weight. Because if you choose to take suffering to bed, you strengthen it. If you choose to bring virtue, you strengthen peace. It's simple, but not easy. It requires vigilance. It requires determination, and the most beautiful thing of all, no one needs to know. This strength doesn't depend on applause, it doesn't depend on recognition. It's invisible. It's yours. Only you feel it. Only you know the transformation happening within you. It's a silent victory, but perhaps the most important of all. Invisible training molds serene warriors. Not warriors who shout, but warriors who face life with a steady gaze and a steady heart. People who are unshaken by any wind, for they were forged in the silence of the night. So, before you go to bed, Make a choice. What do I want to train today? This simple question can change your life. Because tomorrow, when you open your eyes, the answer will be in your chest, lighter or heavier, weaker or stronger. The invisible training never stops. The difference is whether you let it strengthen your shadows or your light. Awakening does not begin in the morning, but the night before. Most people believe the day begins when the alarm clock rings. But this is an illusion. True awakening comes not from the shrill sound of the morning, but from the silence of the previous night. The way you prepare for bed determines who you will be when you wake up. Whether you'll be anxious, tired, and heavy, or serene, light, and ready to face life. The next day is a reflection of what you put into your mind before closing your eyes. Think about it. Those who go to bed carrying arguments, worries, comparisons, and poisons don't sleep. They just lie down. The body may rest, but the soul remains at war. And this war explodes the next morning in the form of irritation, lack of energy, and bad moods. It's not bad luck, it's not destiny. It's a consequence. Awakening begins when you say to yourself before going to sleep, I choose what I take with me for the night. It is in this moment that you plant the seed of tomorrow. If you give gratitude, you wake up with clarity. If you give in to discipline, wake up strong. If you give yourself courage, wake up with firmness. But if you give in to fear, anger or attachment, you wake up a slave to them. The Stoics understood this. For them, the night was not just rest, but preparation. They reflected, what did I do today? Where did I go wrong? Where was I virtuous? What can I improve on tomorrow? This simple practice, done in silence, transformed the night into a school of wisdom. And there's no way to start the day strong if you ended it weak. True awakening begins the moment you courageously close your eyes. The moment you let go of what you cannot control. The moment you choose to feed your mind with virtue, not poison, and when you do, the morning transforms. It doesn't matter if it rains, if the world is heavy, if difficulties arise. You wake up already prepared. Because it wasn't the morning that shaped you, it was the night before. Awakening is not an accident. It's a construction. And those who understand this never again treat the night as a waste of time. They treat it as the cradle of silent victory. So remember, each night is the birth of a new day. Every thought before bed is a brick in the construction of tomorrow. Awakening doesn't begin when you open your eyes, but when you decide what to take into sleep. The silence of the night and the awakened mind. While the body rests in the darkness of night, the mind remains active, navigating memories, reflections, and dreams. Many people believe that sleep is merely a biological pause, a time when we disconnect from the world. But Stoicism teaches us something different. Even in moments of rest, our minds can be trained, shaped, and strengthened. Sleep doesn't have to be just a refuge for the body, but can become a silent gym where we cultivate discipline, serenity, and courage. Stoicism as a night guide. Stoicism, a philosophy that flourished in Greece and expanded in Rome, teaches that we have no control over the external world, but we always have control over our attitudes and thoughts. For Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, true freedom lies in governing oneself, not in trying to dominate what is beyond our reach. Applying this to sleep means understanding that even during the hours we surrender to rest, our minds continue to absorb patterns, beliefs, and interpretations. Sleeping isn't about disconnecting, it's also about reorganizing. It's during the night that our brain processes experiences, strengthens memories, and recalibrates emotions. If we can guide this process consciously, we can transform each night into an exercise in inner strengthening. The dialogue between sleep and philosophy. Modern sleep science shows that when we sleep, we go through cycles, light, deep, and REM sleep. It's in this last stage that the most vivid dreams occur, and also where the brain processes complex emotions. Now imagine, if before bed, you direct your mind with Stoic reflections, like a night ritual of wisdom. Your subconscious will work on these ideas, reinforcing virtues instead of anxieties. For example, if you repeat to yourself a principle of Epictetus, it is not things that disturb us, but the judgments we make of them, your mind will learn to reinterpret challenges in a less painful way. If before going to bed you write, as Marcus Aurelius did in his Meditations, a brief reflection on The day will be teaching your mind that each experience is an opportunity for growth, thus, sleep ceases to be passive. It becomes active, therapeutic and philosophical, the invisible training of resilience. Life is full of trials, losses, failures, criticism, unexpected pain. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot escape these realities, but we can prepare us to face them. By adopting Stoic practices as a nightly routine, you train your mind to weather storms before they even arrive. While the body rests, the mind can absorb messages of resilience, courage, and focus. This happens, for example, when you use guided affirmations, Stoic meditations, or even reflective reading before bed. During the night, the brain revisits this information, consolidating it as automatic mental habits. It's as if, when you wake up, you are already lighter, more prepared and stronger in the face of the world. The practice of everyday death, for the Stoics, each night is a small death. To sleep is to surrender to the unknown, to acknowledge that we have no absolute control over our existence. Marcus Aurelius said that living well also means being ready to die at any moment. When you go to bed with this awareness, you realize that each dawn is a rebirth, a new chance to live with greater virtue. This thought completely changes the relationship with sleep. You don't sleep just to rest, but to prepare for life. Sleeping becomes a ritual of humility and courage, in which you accept the fragility of the human condition, but also wake up grateful for each opportunity to begin again. Serenity as fuel. Anxiety and insomnia are two modern ills that sap our energy. How often do we lie down and our minds remain restless, reliving past mistakes or fearing the future? Stoicism combats this by reminding us, the past no longer exists, the future has not yet arrived. Only the present is in our hands. Thus, applying Stoicism to sleep means lying down serenely, surrendering to rest without carrying the burdens of yesterday or the fears of tomorrow. This act of letting go, of trusting, is also a training in inner strength. The silence of the night and the awakened mind. When the lights go out and the world plunges into the silence of night, something extraordinary happens. The body, tired from the daily grind, rests. But the mind remains alive, active, pulsating. It doesn't rest completely. It reflects, organizes, processes emotions, recreates memories, and even presents us with visions in the form of dreams. Many believe that sleep is simply about switching off, a pause between one day and the next. But the ancient Stoics show us another perspective. Sleep can be an invisible training ground, a silent space where we cultivate serenity, discipline, and courage. It's no exaggeration to say that if we learn to use philosophy as a guide, we can train our minds even while we sleep. What is Stoicism and why it can change your night? Stoicism originated in ancient Greece and gained traction in Rome with thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. This philosophy teaches us to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. This simple distinction is powerful, as it frees our minds from useless worries. We can't control the weather, but we can control how we react to rain. We can't stop criticism, but we can choose not to be shaken by it. We cannot avoid all pain, but we can decide whether that pain destroys us or strengthens us. When we apply these principles to our nighttime lives, sleep ceases to be a passive refuge. It becomes a secret workshop, where the mind learns to rest peacefully and wake up more prepared for life. Sleep as invisible training. Modern science shows that sleep is divided into cycles: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. It's during this last stage that we dream most intensely. During these periods, the brain processes emotions and memories, reorganizing everything we experienced during the day. Now, imagine if before you went to sleep, you guided your mind with Stoic thoughts. Imagine if your last words to yourself were lessons of wisdom, not worries. In that case, your mind would work throughout the night not only to rest, but to strengthen itself. It's like planting seeds. If you lie down thinking about fear, guilt, and anxiety, that's what your mind will water during sleep. But if you lie down thinking about courage, discipline, and acceptance, those will be the seeds silently planted. The Stoic night rituals. The Stoics had practices that can be easily adapted to our times. Let's imagine 3 of them applied before sleep. The review of the day. Marcus Aurelius wrote every night, reflecting on his actions. You can do the same. Write down in a notebook 3 good things you did and 3 things you can improve on. This simple habit prepares your mind to learn while you sleep. The acceptance of the night. The Stoics saw sleep as a small death. Seneca said that each night is a rehearsal for the end of life. This shouldn't generate fear, but gratitude. As you lie down, you can repeat, I accept this night as part of life. If I wake up, it will be a new gift. If I don't, I will have lived up to this point in the best way possible. The preparation of the mind. Before going to sleep, repeat Stoic maxims. For example, it is not the facts that disturb me, but my interpretations. Nothing external can steal my peace. Today's discipline is tomorrow's freedom. By doing this, you program your mind to continue reflecting on these teachings during sleep. How Stoicism can cure nighttime anxiety. How many times do you lie down and your mind won't stop? Reliving past mistakes, fearing future problems. It's as if we've been trying to solve our entire lives while lying in bed, unable to rest. Stoicism offers us an antidote. Power of the present. The past is gone, the future is not yet here. Only the now exists. This mindset helps quiet the mind before sleep. If you lie down repeating, I can't change the past now. I can't control the future now. I can only rest in this moment. You break the cycle of anxiety. And when anxiety is broken, sleep becomes deep, restorative, and fertile for mental strengthening. Training resilience during dreams. Think of your dreams as metaphors. They often represent internal battles, fears, insecurities, unresolved desires. Stoicism teaches us not to run away from these battles, but to face them courageously. Imagine being chased in a dream. Stoicism would say, face the pursuer. See what he means. This kind of reflection changes your relationship with dreams, transforming even nightmares into opportunities for self-discovery. So, even while you're asleep, your mind is training courage. Even while you're dreaming, you're learning not to run away from problems, but to face them head-on. The invisible discipline that awakens you in the morning. If you practice these rituals night after night, you create a silent discipline. And discipline is the heart of Stoicism. When you wake up, your mind is clearer, lighter, and more prepared to face the world. It's not magic, it's training. Just as the body builds muscle with repetitions in the gym, the mind gains strength with philosophical repetitions in the silence of the night. The invisible field of the mind. When we close our eyes at night, we enter a mysterious realm, the world of dreams. There are no fixed rules, logic bends, time stretches or contracts. But behind every dream scene lies hidden meaning. Fears, insecurities, repressed desires, and unresolved memories take symbolic form. It is in this setting that one of the most important battles takes place, the battle for resilience. Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to live according to reason and nature, invites us to view every difficulty as an opportunity for growth. Thus, if we apply this perspective to the world of dreams, we discover something fascinating. Even while sleeping, we can learn to be stronger. Dreams as metaphors for our fears. Dreams often represent our inner concerns. A pursuer in a dream can symbolize a problem we're avoiding facing. A maze can reflect doubts or difficult decisions. A fall can symbolize the fear of failure. Stoicism reminds us that running away from problems only makes them heavier. Marcus Aurelius said, if it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. The rest is up to nature. In other words, direct confrontation is always wiser than flight. So, when we dream about something that scares us, we can reinterpret that experience not as a simple nightmare, but as invisible mind training. The Stoic look in the face of nightmares. Imagine a dream in which you're being chased. Most people would wake up scared, with their heart racing, wanting to forget. The Stoic, however, sees it differently. They ask themselves, what does this pursuer symbolize in my life? What fear does he represent? Why do I run away instead of facing it? This change in perspective transforms the dream into a kind of mental training camp. By interpreting the stalker as a metaphor, you understand that it's not just about running away, but about learning courage. Thus, even nightmares become allies. Epictetus already said, what troubles men is not the things themselves, but the opinions they have about them. The same goes for dreams. It's not the content itself that scares us, but the meaning we attribute to it. Resilience trained in sleep. Resilience is the ability to adapt and recover from adversity. When we apply Stoic principles to dreams, we are practicing just that. If a dream shows us falling, we can wake up and reflect, I don't control fate, but I do control how I fall. I can learn to accept the unpredictable. If we dream of loss, we may wake up remembering, everything I love is subject to disappearance. To love is also to accept impermanence. Thus, each night, the mind offers us symbolic lessons. And Stoicism teaches us to embrace them with serenity, without fear, transforming the unconscious into a silent teacher, making dreams allies of growth. To use dreams as a resilience practice, we can adopt some habits. Dream diary. Every morning, write down your most important dreams and interpret them from a Stoic perspective. Ask yourself, what lesson can this dream teach me? Reprogramming before bed. Repeat Stoic maxims, such as, I can't control events, but I can control my response to them. Fate tests me, but does not defeat me. Acceptance of the dream experience. Instead of rejecting nightmares, embrace them as teachers. Every pursuer, fall, or difficulty in your dream can represent something you'll face in real life. From the unconscious to real life, the true goal is not just to interpret dreams, but to bring their lessons into waking life. If we face our fears and learn courage in our dreams, we will be stronger during the day. If we accept loss in the dream world, we will face real loss with greater serenity. It's like silently training for tomorrow's battles. Sleep becomes a simulation field, and each awakening is a more conscious rebirth. Conclusion: sleep to wake up stronger. Training resilience during dreams is a practice that combines ancient wisdom with modern sleep science. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control external events, but we can train our minds to accept them with courage and serenity. Thus, each dream ceases to be merely a nocturnal illusion and becomes a metaphor for self-knowledge. Each nightmare ceases to be a threat and becomes a teacher. Sleep, then, is no longer just rest, it's practice. It's strengthening oneself. It's learning, night after night, that even in the silence of unconsciousness, the mind can be guided by philosophy, because, in the end, true strength is not born from peaceful days, but from the nights when we learn, in silence, to face our own ghosts. The invisible discipline that awakens in the morning. When we talk about discipline, many people imagine visible effort, waking up early, exercising, following a diet, studying for hours. But there's an even deeper, less apparent, and infinitely more transformative discipline, invisible discipline, the kind cultivated in the silent mind, deep within consciousness, often hidden from view. It's a discipline that doesn't show up on spreadsheets, isn't displayed in social media photos, but that quietly shapes character, strengthens the soul, and prepares one to face the most difficult days with serenity. This invisible discipline, when practiced night after night, awakens with you every morning. It is not born of miracles or mystical techniques, but of the simple habit of training the mind for clarity, acceptance, and strength. The ancient Stoics already understood this secret. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his diary every night, not for others, but for himself. He understood that true government begins within, not without. Epictetus, who was born a slave, taught that true freedom lies not in doing what one wants, but in wanting what one should. And Seneca reminded us that time is our most precious commodity, and that wasting it on distractions is the greatest loss. Applying these principles to your nighttime routine creates an invisible training ground for your mind. Just as the body builds muscle with repetitions at the gym, the mind strengthens with philosophical repetitions in the silence of the night. Every reflection before bed, every simple note in a notebook, every silent meditation, all of this forms a secret ritual that takes deep root. The results don't appear immediately, but little by little, when you wake up, you realize something has changed. Problems don't weigh as heavily, negative words from others no longer hurt as they once did, challenges seem less threatening. It's not Modern life addicts us to seeking quick results. We want diets that transform our bodies in a month, courses that change our careers in a week, apps that promise instant happiness. But Stoicism reminds us that life doesn't work that way. True transformation comes from quiet constancy, from the patient repetition of small acts. when you create a nightly ritual, no matter how small, you're showing discipline. It could be writing 3 sentences in a journal, reflecting for 5 minutes on what's within your control and what's not, or simply mentally thanking for 3 things during the day. At first, it might seem small. But imagine repeating this 365 times in a year. Imagine repeating this for 10 years. This silent habit, invisible to others, will shape the way you think, react, and see the world. The human brain is plastic, moldable. Science calls it neuroplasticity. Every time you repeat a thought or behavior, you're reinforcing neural connections. It's like walking a path in the forest. The more you walk it, the more open and natural it becomes. If you go to bed every night with thoughts of fear, worry, and guilt, you're strengthening those mental pathways. But if you go to bed with serenity, gratitude, and clarity, you're reinforcing pathways of strength and calm. That's why invisible discipline is so powerful. It doesn't have to be grand. It just needs to be consistent, or I sound like a philosophical ally. Many spiritual and philosophical traditions have always valued sleep, but few as practically as Stoicism could today. For the Stoics, life is too short to be wasted on restlessness. They knew that rest is essential, but they also saw each night as a metaphor for death. When we lie down to sleep, we surrender control. We don't know if we'll wake up the next day. This simple fact, remembered with serenity, generates profound gratitude. Upon awakening, each morning becomes a gift, a rebirth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, think of the privilege of being alive, of breathing, of thinking, of loving, of being able to act." But before dawn comes night. And night can be used as an invisible training ground. If before bed you practice accepting your fate, reflecting on your actions, and being clear about what is within your control, your mind carries these seeds into sleep. During the nocturnal cycles, while the body rests, the brain reorganizes information, strengthens memories, and processes emotions. This natural process becomes even more powerful when nourished with wisdom. Thus, sleep ceases to be merely a biological necessity and becomes a philosophical ritual. Going to sleep with disciplined thoughts means waking up with a lighter, more prepared mind. The seed of habit, small actions, big roots. Aristotle said that we are what we repeatedly do. The Stoics, though coming from a different school, shared this view. For them, it is not fleeting emotion nor isolated great deed that defines a man, but rather the daily practice of virtues. When we apply this to sleep, we realize that each night is like a blank page. What we write on it, with our thoughts and reflections, becomes the ink that will color the next day. This is why seemingly simple rituals have so much power. It's not the grandeur of the action that matters, but the quiet constancy. Imagine someone who, every night before going to sleep, writes 3 sentences in a notebook, a gratitude for the day, a mistake he made, an intention for tomorrow. If this person repeats this for 10 years, they will have over 10,000 notes. But more important than the records will be the habit ingrained in their mind, the habit of gratitude, reflection, and preparation. This is the invisible discipline, the accumulated power of small practices that no one sees, but which profoundly shape character. Sleep and brain plasticity. Modern neuroscience shows that sleep is a time of mental reorganization. During REM sleep, areas of the brain associated with memory and emotions are highly activated. It's as if the mind is reviewing what happened during the day, classifying experiences, and reinforcing learning. If you immerse yourself in worries before bed, your brain tends to process and reinforce those anxieties. But if you go to bed after calm reflection, philosophical reading, or gratitude practices, you're providing your brain with healthier, raw material. It's like feeding a machine. If you feed it garbage, it will process garbage. If you feed it wisdom, it will multiply wisdom. The Stoics, unfamiliar with today's scientific terms, already sensed this. Marcus Aurelius recommended using each night to evaluate one's life. Epictetus spoke of the importance of constantly examining one's actions. These practices, performed regularly, functioned as mental programs that continued to work during sleep. The metaphor of the silent warrior. We can imagine invisible discipline as the training of a warrior. Not the warrior who displays armor before crowds, But the one who trains in silence, in the darkness, preparing for battles no one knows will come, this warrior represents our mind. Each night, it can choose two paths: training in the shade, strengthening yourself with serenity and reflection; surrender to chaos, fueling worries, fears and distractions. The next day, the difference will be visible. The trained warrior faces challenges calmly. The unprepared despair at the slightest adversity. Invisible discipline is precisely this silent training. When you wake up and realize you no longer react with the same impulsiveness, that your patience has increased, that your outlook is lighter, you are seeing the results of this warrior who trained overnight. The enemies of invisible discipline. If invisible discipline is so powerful, why do so few cultivate it? Because there are silent enemies who steal it from us. Among them, the modern rush. We want to go to sleep already thinking about what we'll do tomorrow. We don't leave room for silence, excess stimuli, social media, notifications, endless series. The brain goes to bed saturated, unable to reflect. The lack of intention. Many people go to bed just to switch off, without realizing that they could use this moment as philosophical preparation. These enemies erode invisible discipline. And, little by little, they create a routine of waking up tired, anxious, and unprepared. Stoicism teaches us to fight these enemies with determination, because the greatest theft is not of money, but of time. Seneca warned, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot." Every night wasted is a silent waste of inner strength. Historical examples of invisible discipline. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, he found time each night to write personal reflections. He wrote not to be read, but to keep his mind disciplined. Epictetus, as a slave, he learned to cultivate inner freedom. He knew he couldn't control his external situation, but he trained his mind every night not to be overwhelmed by suffering. Seneca, he recommended reviewing the day before bed, not as an act of guilt, but as a form of self-education. These men lacked modern distractions, but they faced other enormous pressures. What kept them serene was precisely this invisible discipline, practiced away from the public eye. The night ritual as a workout for the morning. We can think of the nightly ritual as a bridge between two worlds, the day that has ended and the day that has not yet begun. What you put on that bridge will determine how you cross to the other side. If you rush, you'll stumble across. If you put anxiety, you will cross in fear. If you have serenity and discipline, you will arrive on the other side prepared. Therefore, creating simple rituals, writing, meditating, giving thanks, is like strengthening the pillars of this bridge. When morning comes, you're no longer starting the day from scratch, but continuing a discipline you've already cultivated overnight, the hidden routine of the wise. If we look at the great thinkers of history, we notice that many cultivated quiet rituals. They weren't grandiose acts, but discreet practices that shaped their character and strengthened their minds. Marcus Aurelius, even while ruling the largest empire in the world, wrote in his meditation short phrases about patience, humility, and self-control. These phrases were personal reminders, almost like philosophical prayers. This daily practice is a perfect example of invisible discipline. He didn't write to impress senators or for future generations to read. He wrote for himself, like someone silently sharpening a blade. The results of this sharpening weren't immediately visible, but they manifested themselves in wiser decisions, in serenity in the face of crises, in courage in the face of pain. Invisible discipline is like this. It seems small at the moment, but it builds invisible fortresses within us. The parallel with nature. Invisible discipline can be compared to the growth of a tree. When we see a robust tree, with a firm trunk and a wide crown, we admire its strength. But we forget that most of its support lies underground, in its invisible roots. These roots don't show up in photographs, they don't attract attention, but they are what keep the tree standing in storms. Likewise, nighttime rituals, quiet reflections, and small practices of discipline are the roots of the human mind. When the storm hits, criticism, loss, illness, failure, it is this invisible discipline that sustains the soul. Those who haven't cultivated roots fall. Those who have, endure. Silence as a teacher. We live in a noisy age. Cell phones vibrate, notifications flash, the world demands immediate responses. But invisible discipline flourishes in silence. It's the moment we turn off our devices, dim the lights, and remain alone with ourselves that our minds begin to reveal themselves. The Stoics knew the power of silence. Epictetus said, "Nature gave us one mouth, but also two ears. We should listen more than we speak." This advice can also be applied to our inner dialogue. We need to listen more to our conscience, our emotions, and what the day has taught us. By lying in silence, without distractions, we create space for the invisible discipline to flourish. It is in this space that we ask simple yet transformative questions. What was under my control today? What could I have done better? What does not depend on me and therefore I need to accept? These questions, repeated night after night, shape the mind like a river-shaped stone, slowly, but irreversibly. The science of philosophical repetition. Psychology studies show that habits are formed through the consistent repetition of small actions. But the interesting thing is that mental content habits can also be trained. Recurring thoughts create stable neural patterns, and these patterns shape the way we perceive reality. If you train your mind to react calmly, patiently, and focused on the present, these responses become automatic. This is exactly what the Stoics called training virtue, practicing until it becomes second nature. At night, the brain enters a more receptive state. By reflecting, writing, or meditating before bed, you reinforce mental circuits that will remain active during sleep. This means that, while resting, your mind is consolidating what it has learned. It's like planting seeds before the rain. While you sleep, the water of sleep irrigates the fertile soil of consciousness. The weight of what we let in. Another important point of invisible discipline is what we don't do for bed. We often think only of adding practices, writing, meditating, reflecting, but we forget that we also need to protect our minds from overstimulation. What you read, listen to, and watch before bed is absorbed by your subconscious. If you spend the last hours of the day consuming negative news, comparing yourself on social media, or fueling anxiety, you're handing over garbage to your mind to process at night. Stoicism invites us to watch not only our actions but also our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." This applies even more strongly at night. It is in the dark that thoughts flourish unhindered. If we sow fear, we will reap anxiety. If we sow wisdom, we will reap serenity. Practical exercises of the invisible discipline. To transform theory into practice, we can adopt some exercises inspired by Stoicism. Review of the day, before you go to sleep. Close your eyes and mentally review your actions. Ask yourself, what did I do that was aligned with virtue? Where did I stray from it? Acceptance of fate. Choose an event of the day that you could not control and say to yourself, "This wasn't up to me. I won't let it steal my peace." Stoic gratitude. Be thankful for something simple, like breathing, having food, or having lived another day. Gratitude trains the mind to value what truly matters. Nighttime maximum. Repeat a Stoic phrase before going to sleep. For example, today's discipline is tomorrow's freedom. These small exercises, repeated nightly, create invisible roots. At first they seem trivial, but over time they become the foundation of an unshakable mind. The transformed awakening. When this invisible discipline is cultivated, awakening changes. You wake up not just rested, but strengthened. Problems that seemed enormous yesterday now seem manageable. Criticism that once hurt no longer penetrates as deeply. Doubts that paralyzed you no longer hold as much power. This awakening is the result of invisible preparation. It wasn't magic, it wasn't luck. It was practice. In the silence of the night, you shaped your mind for serenity. In the morning, this serenity awakens with you, so believe and do it yourself.